What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on back to yet another edition of live draft coverage from Motor City Mania. We are going to be covering the Lions, but also all teams in the NFL draft. Hopefully, everybody got a good night's rest last night because most of us were probably up well past midnight. Looking forward to the coverage for today. We're going to be going over second and third round. Obviously, those are going to be the rounds for today. The third day of the draft is round 4, round 5, 6, and 7. So definitely still a lot of good players out there. Definitely still a lot of intrigue going on. We don't know exactly what's about to happen, but I'm telling you this much. It is definitely going to be a lot of fun. It is definitely going to be I would say a continuation of what we saw last night, because last night, I said it before, I'll say it again. Last night was probably one of the weirdest NFL drafts I have ever seen in my life. So, but enough about that. Let's get to some of these comments here, and let's see what you guys are all saying. Sebastian Chaze says, let's go, boys. We need D-line, safety, and wide receiver. O-line depth wouldn't hurt either. Manuel Correa says, if you guys take my boy Jonah Ellis, Detroit Lions are my second favorite team. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Perry Ball asks me, he says, how am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. Can't really say anything too bad about it. Just tired's all. But I got to ask you guys, what did you guys think of last night's draft? Because, after having like a full 24 hours to kind of mull on it a little bit, kind of, think on it a little bit, that was a very interesting draft. I mean, apart from all the quarterbacks that went off the board, which I was already expecting, I was not expecting 10 offensive linemen almost to get drafted. I was not expecting that many offensive players in a row to get drafted. That draft that we saw last night for the first round completely defied all expectations. And in some sense, I actually kind of dug it because I was like, hey, it's not the same cookie cutter crap. It's not like everybody knows what everyone's going to do. It was kind of like, there was actually quite a couple of surprises last night. There were actually quite a couple of instances where it was like, I did not see that coming. Manuel asks, what's your guys' takes on Jonah? You talk about the fact that Jonah Jackson left us and went to the Rams, I'm assuming, which is your main team. Here's what I'm going to say. Jonah's a solid player. He's a good guard. The biggest problem with Jonah that you got to ask yourself is if he's going to be able to stay healthy enough to make an impact on your offensive line. That's the biggest question. When he's healthy, he's impactful, but that's the main question, is how healthy is he going to be able to stay? Lady Lion 20 asks, hey, Lions fans, how y'all feeling today? I'm saying this. I'm feeling pretty good, but I think that we're in for a bit of a kind of a screwball, if you will, for this kind of a day, because I'm going to call this right now. I do not see under any circumstances how Brad Holmes just stays at 61, and that's the only pick he makes today. If he stays at 61 and then does something else, I could see that. But honestly, I think Brad Holmes is going to take pick 61 and he's going to trade down. That's what I honestly expect. That's what I honestly believe, because I just think that Brad Holmes realizes that sticking at 61 and not doing anything in the third or the fourth round is just that's just ridiculous. Barry Ball says, hey, David, can you tell me, Arnold, what are his strengths and weaknesses? What does he need to work on? I think the biggest weakness that most people are going to talk about is his long stride speed. Like, he's not exactly the fastest down the field. He's got good lateral quick movement. He's good in zone. He's great in man coverage. He's a great tackler. So not a lot of weaknesses, a lot of strengths, though. Manuel says Ellis. Oh, well, for me, Ellis, the thing I think about him is I think he's got the intangibles to be a good player in the next level. The issue is he doesn't have the size you're looking for. He's about 240, 250 pounds. He's only about 6'3". So the height is there. The weight isn't. So he's got the intangibles. He just needs to get a little bit heavier. But overall, I think Jonah Ellis has the potential to be a pretty solid starter. Maybe not right away. He might need some time to develop, but I think he has the potential to be a solid starter. Gavin's friend says, hey, David, what position do you hope the Lions target tonight? There's quite a few positions I hope they target. I hope they go after an edge rusher to get some help for Aiden Hutchinson. Like, desperately need to get somebody opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I know we've got Houston. I know we went out and we got Betts. But for me, we have to get somebody else that's a much higher caliber kind of a player, something that's a little bit more of a proven commodity than either Houston or Betts. Betts is proven in the CFL. That does not always translate to the NFL. And apart from 8 weeks where James Houston went off, that's all we've gotten out of him. So it's like, I want more competition in that edge rushing room opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I also think we could stand to add offensive line depth. I also think we could stand to add wide receiver, and I think we could stand to add a safety. Bo Booth says, good evening, David. After last night, we can be certain that something unexpected will happen. That is for damn sure. Last night, I'm telling you, was unexpected in every sense of the word. Perry Ball says, David, I think we need a DT or DN, Fisk or Braswell. I'm hoping for Fisk. I like, but I don't think we need any more help on the interior of the defensive line. We've drafted a lot of guys on the interior over the last 3 years. We've got McNeil, we've got Levi, we've got Pascal. We've got a lot of guys on the interior of that line. So it's like the interior I'm not so concerned about. It's the exterior. I want somebody opposite of Hutchinson. Smokey Sum says, I think the defensive rule changes had teams drafting offensive players, 6 QBs, 9 offensive tackles was crazy to see get drafted in the first round. Plus, I think we had, 5, 6 wide receivers, something like that. Like, it was just a massive run on freaking offensive players last night. And the funny thing about it is we had a crap ton of quarterbacks get drafted, a crap ton of offensive linemen, primarily tackles, only tackles really. And then you had a lot of freaking wide receivers getting drafted. But the outside of those positions, the only other position that had even one first round take for an offensive player was tight end. Not a single running back was drafted in the first round. That was a bit of a shocker because usually there's always one, and it's usually towards the end of the first round. But last night, no first round running backs at all. Which, I mean, that in and of itself doesn't surprise me because this was a particularly weak year for freaking running backs. Christopher Lauderman says he thinks JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, he's a great center. He's a great center. But I don't know if he's the guy we should go with because, honestly, I know people are still worried about Frank Ragnow, but I'm not worried about him. If the guy truly said he was going to retire and he was actually meaning it, he would retire. And I don't see him retiring anytime soon. The Lions are doing way too good for him to want to quit now. That's just my take personally. James Lowe says, assuming corners are okay, what positions can be improved now? Is it too late to draft any impactful edgemen? No, there's a couple that are still out there. They're not as impactful, I would say, as the guys that went last night. You could get Chris Braswell out of Alabama. You could get Jonah Ellis out of Utah. You could get Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon. You also could go after Ruke Aroro out of Clemson. He's a guy that can kind of play every single position on the defensive line, but he does a lot of damage on the outside of it. So there's still some impactful edge rushers that are available. Bunny King says, I thought that was vintage Holmes, only having to trade up to 24 from 29 to steal the most polished number 1 corner in the draft. That's exactly a Holmes move. That is what Holmes does. He makes brilliant moves, and he doesn't put anybody at risk. Let's see here. Perry Ball says, do you think that Ladd McConkey goes early in the second round? It's possible. He's one of the best wide receivers still on the board right now. Coming to the stage, we have DC8091. How's it going, buddy?
How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going
last night, wasn't it?
After last night.
Yep. Sorry, I had technical difficulties last night.
I understand. It happens to us all.
Yep.
To answer your question, Bo Booth, about Nealand, I like Marshawn Nealand. I do. The problem is I don't know if he's going to translate very well to the NFL because he played at, even though it was Division I college ball, it wasn't like really top-notch competition Division I ball. So it's like, could that work in the NFL? It could, but he's got a much higher talent gap he has to overcome compared to other guys that went to top-notch schools. I would like Marshawn Nealon. I just don't know, is he going to be able to bridge that gap in terms of talent is concerned?
Well, at least not out of the gate.
No, not out the gate. I don't see that.
Give him a year or two to catch up to the NFL level, even if he does have the, skill set for it. It's, playing against NFL players and not D2 players. Or what school did he go to?
He went to Western Michigan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, MAC is a respectable conference, but, it's not like you're playing against Alabama and Georgia every game.
Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't mind it. The question, though, is he ready? And I would be willing to bet that if the Lions were to draft him, some Lions fans might have a problem with that because they're going to want guys that can impact right away. Because that was one of the biggest issues that people had with Broderick Martin last year, is that we drafted him and he hardly, if ever, saw any sort of meaningful reps.
But again, look at this. How a draft pick, I don't care where they are going to have to make the team in the first damn place. As loaded as we are, making a draft pick, making the team, particularly in these later rounds, ain't guaranteed like it used to be.
That is true. Lions Talk Live comes in and says, Nealon Nation. Yeah, I know you're a big Marshawn fan. Also coming to the stage, we have Andrew. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, y'all? How you doing? Happy draft day, too.
Yep. Almost set to start up. But we'll see what happens here. Todd Super Ginger says, we are in win now window. I would not mind trading some trade capital for next year. We will get at least 2 comp picks, so keep that in mind too. I mean, that's possible. I mean, we should probably get a comp pick for Josh Reynolds at the very least. I don't know. That might also depend on if we lose any coaches next year, though. I don't know if we are or not, and I'm not going to bank on that. But, yeah, we might. And we also will probably lose one for Jonah Jackson as well. So there is a potential. Bo Booth says, woo, crew, tonight should be fun. Trade up? No.
No, I think we're done trading up. If anything, we trade back.
I think there's the one thing I think is most likely to happen is I could see Brad Holmes trading some capital from next year to get a pick somewhere in the mid rounds, or trading back from 61 to getting those picks. I don't think Brad Holmes is going to trade up again, but then again, I thought he wasn't going to trade up last night after a certain point, and then he went out and did it anyway.
To me, it depends on the player he wants in the second round.
Bunny King says, I would like to see a trade back and collect more picks. Edge would be nice, but I'd like to pick up Double Z from Michigan, total value pick. Zach Zinter would be a great pickup because I believe that he's a guy that has the talent to be a round 2 pick, but because of his injury, he's probably going to fall to the late 3rd, early 4th. Todd Super Ginger says, what's your guys' biggest need remaining? Mine is pass rush. Mine is pass rush or wide receiver. I think that we – go ahead.
Yeah, pass rusher, wide receiver, maybe some offensive line depth.
You could probably also throw safety in there.
It depends on if we keep Kirby Joseph.
Norzana Yasmin says that he still wants Kool-Aid, but he is stoked for Tarian. I'm going to say this right now. Kool-Aid is a good guy. I like Kool-Aid. I think that, if the draft boards had fallen the way it had he still would have been a great pick at number 29 if they were falling the way they should have. But obviously Brad Holmes thought that, getting Arnold was a lot bigger of a need because the way he was making it sound in his post-draft coverage for round 1 was like there was a huge gap between Arnold as far as a talent player and then between all the other corners. So for me, it's like obviously the Lions knew that that's the guy they wanted.
Of course, Brad trading up and getting both of them would not be surprising.
I don't think that happens.
It wouldn't be surprising, but I don't see Brad Holmes making a move like that. We've already got Carlton Davis.
But if they did, I'd be like, yep, that's a Brad Holmes move. He knows what he's doing. I mean, shit.
Well, like I said, I think Brad Holmes is more than happy with the current cornerback room that he has, because it's like you've traded 2 third-round picks in essence to get corners this year. You traded a third to get Carlton Davis from the Bucs, and then you traded another third to go up and get Terry and Arnold. You went out and signed Amik Robertson. You still have Mosley on the roster. You still have Gilmore on the roster, and then you have all the safety help that you have in Iffy, Kirby, and also Brian Branch.
I thought about this. What if we don't stop the Alabama picking in the second round? And if Boswell, is it Boswell or Bradwell?
It's Braswell.
Braswell. I keep saying Boswell. Okay. What if he's there at 61 and we take him?
That could very well happen. It could happen, but
I don't think it has any much to do with him being also from Alabama. I think it has to do with him being the best one that's there.
I was about to say, like, Brad has stated multiple times it's more about who's the best player available. Now, I will say this. Obviously, the fact that for 3 straight years running, Brad Holmes has gone to the Alabama well 3 straight times in terms of first-round draft picks. So, obviously, there is a correlation in Brad's viewpoint with good players coming from Alabama. Now, whether or not that's going to continue with Saban being gone, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But in any case, Lions Talk Live says, at Bo Booth, woo, Ed Master, woo. Apparently he's all hyped up. Ed Huffmaster says, is Hooker still trade bait? No, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Brad Holmes drafted Hendon Hooker for one specific reason, and the reason was specifically to make sure that there was a solid backup quarterback option behind Jared Goff. That was it. There's no other real way to look at it other than, yeah, that was why he was drafted. So this idea that you could use Hendon Hooker as trade bait is just, in my opinion, it's kind of a little bit laughable, because it's like he's already still got the rookie contract. I don't see why Brad Holmes would trade him after he just drafted him a year ago. This isn't like Josh Rosen.
I mean, and what are you going to get, a 3rd-round pick for a 26-year-old out of a spread offense who has a broken ACL?
Well, I don't even think you get a 3rd-round pick for him, because when we drafted him, he was a 3rd-round pick.
Exactly. That's all we could expect to get from him.
The way I look at it, I don't think that they're going to trade him. I think that they're going to keep Hendon Hooker. They're going to have him be the backup quarterback for the reasons that they drafted him for, and then they're just going to go from there. That's the end of it.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to shop him, but I don't think he's.
Oh, no. I don't think that's going to happen either.
By any means. I mean, if someone said, "Hey, we'll give you this song if you include Hendon Hooker, he's gone," but that's going to be a big if.
Michael Shremby says, hi, David. What player do you think falls to us today? I don't know. That all depends on if we even decide to stay at pick 61. That's the main question that we need to ask on that one.
Did the West Virginia guard get taken?
You're talking about the center, and no, he has not been taken.
Yeah, that would be someone I'd be worth trading up for.
Zach Frazier is still on the board. Jackson Powers Johnson is still on the board. There's a lot of top talent that is still on the board.
Absolutely.
Hell, we got
Cooper
Laporta in the
is
second
still
round.
on the board.
We got Laporta in the second round, and that rookie and the guy that Oakland drafted isn't going to be as good as him. So there you go.
Well, glad to have you in, Chris. Let's see here. Bo Booth says, can we get back to the 3rd? What about the 4th? That's why I keep saying trade back from pick 61. You could easily get a 3rd and a 4th round pick by trading a 2nd round pick. You easily could do that. And that's what I think Brad Holmes is going to do. I think Brad Holmes realizes that where he's at the 2nd round, which is pick 61, which is at the tail end of the 2nd round, if you trade that 2nd round pick, you can then get a lot more compensation to where you then have something in the 3rd and the 4th round. That's what I personally think. Whether or not Holmes does that, that remains to be seen.
You never know what Holmes does. He could pull a rabbit out of his hat.
Dean DeGreer says that they are currently already chanting Jared Goff's name at the draft right now.
Awesome.
Elizabeth Oberlin says, hey, I'll hope to make it, but I was downtown at the draft late morning, then at Ford Field for draft party. Barely awake today because I had to work today. LOL, I love our pick. I think most everybody does.
Oh, come on, Liz. You're fine. It's just partying.
Bunny King says the difference.
I was going to say that.
This is actually kind of an interesting comment here. Bunny King says the difference is Kool-Aid is potentially great. Arnold is potentially revolutionary.
Yep. We definitely got the better one.
Well, like I said, I was not upset when we got Terry and Arnold. I wanted Kool-Aid because I thought he was going to be the best option that was available there, based upon what the boards were looking like. But getting Terry and Arnold, I'm absolutely ecstatic about it.
He's better than Kool-Aid, I think.
I agree he's better.
Damn right.
Moonscar Blade comes in and says, what's up, David Pike? And then she says it again, so he's chanting my
The
name.
commissioner is about to come out, everyone, to say day 2 of the NFL draft is officially open.
Michael Shrimby asks, what player am I hoping for? I'm not really hoping for anybody at this point. I'm kind of more sitting back and wanting to see what the hell happens.
I'm not going to guess because every time I guess, I'm wrong.
Oh, there's the booze. There's the booze finally. Now they're booing him.
You know, we should have the goddamn common sense to disinvolve himself from their draft after one.
If only
season, let
people could
someone
throw
else do this
tomatoes
shit.
at him.
No one likes his ass.
Everybody throws tomatoes at him.
They ought to hand them out for free so everyone could. 250,000 tomatoes launched at Roger Goodell.
Damn. 275,000 last night and already 230,000.
That's a lot of people.
Yes. Glad I didn't make plans to go there.
I'm telling you, I would have loved to have gone to the draft. I would have. But it's like, dude, I knew this was going to happen. I'm like, no, I am not going to be in a crowd of humanity that big.
No shit. No,
You
my
would be
favorite
bumping
bars in
into so
Detroit are
many
booked up.
people, and imagine if you had to use the restroom and you had to get through all of those people.
Could you imagine
that's
trying to
just when you
get
grab a
home at night? Imagine that, trying to get home or to your hotel when you're done.
Oh, it's Detroit. You just walk everywhere.
Mm.
No, I'm dead serious. You're in that area of Detroit. I mean, you Uber or walk. I mean, it's fine.
Oh, I know. I've been in downtown Detroit. I was at Ford Field one time.
Yep, that area is all walking. Or the Q line.
Rich Hustle says, getting home after the draft is complete and total chaos.
Oh, I can believe it.
That's why you get a hotel.
Elizabeth Oberlin then says, downtown was not that bad if you stayed on the perimeter and stay away from the stage area. Yeah, but then at that point, you can't hear nothing. Oh, they're putting J.J. McCarthy's traitor ass up on the big screen.
Is he getting booed?
No, they're cheering him because he's from U of M, and they're saying it because they're the champions of the NCAA. Blah 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 blah. Oh boy, whatever. But how does this have any correlation to do with the NFL draft? Now we're celebrating college champions at the draft. Like when did this become about celebrating college championships?
Well, it is Michigan. I mean, the home
Well, I
state.
get that, but it's like, come on now. It's like, you guys won your championship literally 3.5 months ago. That time's passed. It's the draft. That's what we came to watch. We didn't come to watch you guys celebrate having another, whatever.
I mean, I don't mind watching it.
You don't mind watching it because you're a U of M fan, Andrew.
In college football, I am, yes.
I mean, they should have put strippers up there, but that's just me.
I don't think the NFL would have approved that.
Just had the cheerleaders twerk on stage.
Perry Ball asks to both me and you, DC. He says, do you think the Vikings will regret taking McCarthy? I don't know.
I hope they do.
I don't know if they will, to be honest. Quarterbacks in the first round is a very, very tricky business. It's very tricky. I've heard it said so many times.
Sorry, I was singing a little bit.
I mean, the percentage.
I know. I could hear you going, hail to the victors.
Their percentage rate is not.
Thank you. The draft is officially now open again.
Yes.
And now the Bills are going to finally draft after trading twice last night.
Oh, I'm sure the Mafia's loving that.
I'll tell you this right now. I'm close to Buffalo, and usually you will see Buffalo fans out with their stuff around. I didn't see anybody yesterday or today. They were kind of quiet. Robert Portica says, strippers, Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, same thing.
Oh, you know what? There's a keeping their clothes on thing is a big thing.
Buckeye in Michigan, so you already know where this is going. OSU fan says, I'm sorry, but F J.J. McCarthy. He no longer plays for Michigan. He plays for a rival organization. Hutch's going to have a field day.
Yep.
So the Buffalo Bills are on the clock. Where do we think they go in the wide receiver department?
I think the best guy that's on the board, Ladd McConkey.
I was gonna say Mitchell.
That's my personal opinion.
I was going to say Mitchell.
Then maybe.
Or offensive lineman, depending on who's left.
They need a wide receiver.
Well, no, they need to keep Josh Allen healthy is what they need to do.
Yes, James Lowe, you are correct. They are on a 7-minute clock. The reason why is because as we continue to go down each round, there's less and less time. First round is 10 minutes. Second round is 7 minutes. And then I think after you get past the fourth round, it's down to a 5-minute clock. So by the time you get to round 4, it starts going fast.
Oh, yeah. And then I got to ask, David, have you thought about going live tomorrow in the insanity?
No, I'm not doing it. I don't have the energy for it. I'm not going to be able to sit down and live stream for freaking 7-8 hours of this crap.
Didn't we try that one?
We did, and by the time I was done, I literally was exhausted.
No. Dave
was taking like hour breaks. I can't blame him.
I was tired. Like,
I don't blame you at all, dude. It was fun.
Like, don't get me wrong. I have nothing but the highest respect for these analysts that they sit at the draft all day, and that's what they do is they just talk, and I love that. But it's like, dude, I couldn't do that for freaking 12 hours a day, just sitting there talking and just whatever. It's like I'd have to take a break at some point.
Do you remember the movie Basketball?
Which one?
Basketball. The one that
No.
had Trey Parker and Matt Stone from South Park in it. They had Al Michaels and the other classic announcer in it.
Is the ticket on your end, David?
But
no, it is not.
The playoffs went so long that both of them are sitting there and they're falling asleep at the desk and their ties are undone and they try to wake him up and Al Michaels goes, "No, Daddy, don't touch me there," or some shit like that.
Actually, the pick is in, and I know who it is.
Was I correct?
You didn't tell me who it was, but it is a receiver. But it is not Mitchell. It is not Mitchell, and it is not McConkey. It is wide receiver Keon Coleman out of Florida State.
I actually did call that earlier because I heard Adam Scheffler saying it.
But it makes sense why they would go with him. He's a big wide receiver, 6'4", 215 pounds.
Right,
so
is who I was thinking of.
Makes sense why they would go with him because they're looking for a guy that can replace Stephon Diggs. So you get a guy that's 6'4", 215 pound wide receiver. Yeah, you got a guy that you can throw to.
Well, let's catch Josh Allen's cannon.
Well, that's if Josh Allen can even get it in the right area.
Exactly.
Everyone wants to say that Jared Goff is a turnover machine. Jared Goff hasn't turned the ball over half as much as Allen has over the last 2 years.
So
but
now that we know what the
no
Buffalo
interceptions.
Bills pick is, what do we think the New England Patriots do?
I would say probably a wide receiver as well because they got their quarterback last night in Drake May. Now they need to get him a weapon. That's my personal opinion.
Someone to block for him.
Maybe. Tafka Day says, I believe there's a 7 minutes per pick in the third round, then rounds 3 through 6, actually 4 through 6, are 5 minutes per pick, and then 4 minutes in the 7th round. Buckeye in Michigan says, hey, PSA to any Lions fans in Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Oklahoma, and Texas, heed your warnings and stay safe.
What is it?
Must
Tornado?
be a tornado. Which, I mean, you got to think about it. That is Tornado Alley. I used to live there. Come on. Will you guys just announce the pick so we can get on with it? We already know it's Keon Coleman at least.
Oh, my God. I'm too old for this shit.
Well, I'm getting to a point where I'm just like, listen, knock off the anticipation. Just get it out there and get it over with.
You're getting grumpy already, David.
Imagine what I'll be when I'm 70.
That's what
You were grumpy last night every time Roger Goodell's slow ass was walking up there. We were like,
well, at least now we don't have to worry about Roger Goodell doing it. We have players doing it.
Goodell needs to stay at home for the draft. No one wants to see that fat ass.
Andrew, can you turn that down just a smidge? Bo Booth says, you're going to be like me, David. Maybe. I'm sorry. I have very little patience. I have very little patience for stupidity, and I have very little patience for antics. It's like, dude, just get it over with already. Patriots are currently on the clock. They have about 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. So now we got to see what the Patriots will do with their pick.
Ooh, he's fast. Ooh, he got the ooh. Ooh, he just juked that Clemson player out of his shoes. Ooh. Sorry, I'm just.
You're enjoying yourself. You're marveling at the guy's ability to play the game. Wow, there's a trade. The Chargers are on the clock. The Chargers have traded up with the New England Patriots. The Chargers are on the clock. So the Chargers now currently have the pick, not the Patriots.
Well, here comes a wide receiver.
Yep. Well, they have to get a wide receiver because last night they kind of screwed over Justin Herbert in the first round when they went with an offensive lineman.
Well, actually, that probably helped him because Justin Herbert was getting killed.
Oh, that's true, but I guarantee you the way Herbert looks at it, he needs a guy that can catch the ball.
They lost their best two.
Chargers have about 2.5 minutes left on the clock, but they have just traded the pick with the Patriots, and the Chargers are on the clock. So now we need to figure out what the Chargers will do, which I expect they are going to go with a wide receiver.
Stupid question. Does the clock restart when there's a trade?
No, it does not restart. It just keeps going. Because if that happened, I've seen times where people have traded multiple picks within the whole spot of it. So it's just like, listen, time keeps going. The pick is officially in for the Chargers. Currently no word on what the pick is as of yet, but the pick is officially in for the Chargers. The Chargers traded pick 37 and their fourth-round pick.
Lad McConkey.
It's McConkey.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. They needed a wide receiver to give somebody to Justin Herbert to work with. And Lad McConkey is the pick for the Chargers. So its first 2 picks of the second round are wide receivers. Comes from Georgia. Bit on the small side, though. He's only 6 foot tall, 185 pounds. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to work for him, but whatever. It's not my team making the pick.
Must think it's another Keenan Allen.
Maybe. I don't know. The size is not the same, though.
Keenan was a small guy. Is a small guy, though, isn't he?
Keenan Allen?
Yeah.
I don't know.
6'4".
I thought Keenan Allen was like 6'2" or 3.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. I'm going to check just really quickly. Shut up and just announce the pick. Keenan Allen is 6'2", 211.
No, okay. I was wrong.
Perry Ball, to answer your question, the Chargers gave up pick 37 to move up to pick 34, and they gave up a 4th-round pick in this year's draft. And I think they got something else back also from the Patriots. So far what we're seeing a lot of is small moves. We're not seeing teams making massive moves all the way up to certain spots. They're only moving like a couple of spots from one area to the next. I'll say this, the guy's fast.
Yeah, he got some speed.
The Cardinals are now officially on the clock. They have about 3 minutes and 45 seconds left. I love it how when these analysts always talk about these wide receivers or players, oh, he's a faster this, a better this, a better that. It's like, dude, the man hasn't even played a damn down of professional football, and you're trying to make comparisons.
NFL Network's piece on Lad McConkey. One of the things they called him was juicy.
I don't know if that's a term I would like to hear described to a male.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Female? Absolutely. Male? Nope.
I don't know if I was a football player and if somebody said, "Boy, you're looking juicy tonight," I would probably punch him in the face.
There's only one guy that I know of that has ever been described of anything that had to do with juice, and he wound up being
OJ.
Yeah, he wound up being a murderer, supposedly.
Allegedly.
There's another trade. The Cardinals have traded with the freaking Falcons, Mr. Michael Penix's team last night. The Cardinals have traded with the Falcons. The Falcons are now on the clock.
Oh, the Falcons?
Falcons are on the clock. Falcons have just traded with the Cardinals.
I think they go wide receiver.
No, dude, I can tell you probably what they're going to go with right now.
Quarterback.
No. They're probably, you know who I think they're going to go with?
Running back?
Nope. Defensive interior, Jerzan.
Did you already see the pick?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but they only got a minute 40 seconds left. But their needs are defense. They need defensive interior. They need edge. They need corner. So they could go Kool-Aid. They could go Jerzan. They have a lot of options here. They could go Cooper DeJean even.
You think they need corner?
They, like I just said, they could go corner.
Is there a 5'6" lineman that what's his name can see over?
Oh, I have no idea. The pick is officially in for the Falcons. No word yet as on what the pick is, but the pick is in.
Kyle Murray, that's his name.
Yes.
I just
Kyler
saw
Murray.
Wait, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. Oh, it is not who you expected.
Is it defense?
Yes, it is. It's actually a defensive end.
Defensive end. Defensive end. Who the hell?
Played for Clemson.
Ruke.
Yep.
Ruke Ororo.
Never
Which
heard
that
of
makes
him.
sense. Ruke Ororo, that makes sense because that's a guy that can literally play every single technique on a defensive front. He can play the 0 to the 5. So that makes sense. You are correct, Buckeye in Michigan. Atlanta traded up to get pick 35 and got a 2024 6th-round pick. And Arizona got one of the Falcons' 2 second-round picks and got a 3rd-round pick. So take a look at that right there, folks. The Falcons only traded up a little bit, but yet they got a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick. So if you can do that there, that tells me that Brad Holmes could easily manifest 3rd and 4th-round picks out of a 2nd-round pick. Zachary, I have no idea what they were thinking. The only thing I can think of is they're looking at the fact that Kirk Cousins is nothing more than a bridge guy, which to me is stupid because you don't give a guy 4 years, $180 million if he's a bridge guy, and then draft his immediate replacement. The only thing I could think of is they're trying to do what the Packers did with Rodgers and Love, but it's not even the same thing.
Ooh. I know who that player is. The one that's announcing the pick.
Oh, yeah?
Andre Rison.
Because I'm looking at it right now. Michael Penix is currently 23 years old, and he's actually going to turn 24. He's going to turn 24 years old here next month. In 4 years, by the time his contract is almost up, he'll be 28 years old almost. So by the time his whole rookie year contract is up, he'll be 29. That right there tells me that the Falcons are looking at, Kirk Cousins as nothing more than a freaking 2-year option. That's all they're looking at him as, which to me is stupid. Why would you pay a guy $180 million if you're only going to keep him around for 2 years? All right. Falcons just made their pick for the very versatile defensive lineman, Ruke. Currently now the Washington Commanders, or as DC would call them only, the Redskins are on the clock.
Everyone still calls them the Redskins. Ain't no Washington fan calling them the Commanders.
I call them the Commanders out of respect.
Well,
respect football. It's the Redskins.
Commanders are on the clock because that's what they're officially called now, but I get it, Redskins as well. Either way, Washington team is on the clock. Yesterday, they drafted Jaden Daniels with their number 2 overall pick. So now they have a multitude of other needs they could go after. They need supposedly tight end, tackle, guard, center. So anything on the offensive line, really. They need edge rusher, cornerback, or safety. So realistically, there is not a single thing that the Commanders don't realistically need help at.
Well, you know one thing, they don't need help at quarterback.
No, they need.
Not now. They don't.
They have.
But who knows? Maybe in 2 years they might.
2 years. 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 2 years He's already being
Let's
called
stop the
RG4
whole
for God's sake.
let's stop the whole RG3 shebang.
No,
I'm not
it's
saying it
RG4.
because of that. I'm saying it because just the sheer amount of disruption and failure rate there is when it comes to first-round quarterbacks has nothing to do with the RG3 bull crap.
Particularly Redskins. They have a long history. I think Theismann might be the. I would figured if Theismann was even a first rounder. I don't even think he was.
Well, if you think about it, when it comes to quarterbacks that the Redskins have drafted, the only guys that I can think of in the last 30, 40 years that they've actually drafted, Washington has selected defensive interior lineman Jerzan Newton.
Ooh.
That is a great pick for them. They just got the best defensive interior lineman in the second round. A guy that was considered a potential top 10 prospect got him in the freaking top of the second round. That's great value right there.
That's a big boy.
It is a big boy, but he's definitely going to help them in that run defense compartment.
That's what they thought about
Big
Hainsworth, too.
Hmm?
That's what they thought about Hainsworth.
Yeah, but Hainsworth was a lazy sumbitch. And you are correct, DC. Theismann was not a first-round draft pick. He was a fourth-round draft pick in 71.
Well,
And the funny thing about it was he didn't even play. He wasn't even drafted by the Redskins.
Nope. He went somewhere else, I think, before Washington. I think he went to like USFL or something.
He was in the CFL, Toronto Argonauts.
Yep, Argonauts.
So think about that. Joe Theismann was the best quarterback that they had probably 30 years ago. And then the next best quarterback I can think of that they've had since then was probably Kirk Cousins.
We forgot Doug Williams and Mark Flutie. I'm sorry.
Doug Williams they didn't
and,
draft, though.
Mark Rippon.
Rippon they also didn't draft either. I didn't forget him. I was just like, listen, if you talk about guys that you drafted or that's where you started with, that's why I say that. All right, so we know that the Commanders are drafting Jerzan Newton, best defensive interior lineman in the NCAA draft this year. 6'2", 295 pounds. Not exactly the tallest guy, but very stocky for his height.
That's a damn bowling ball.
Oh, God, here we go. They're going to honor Darryl Green.
Oh, here comes the commissioner.
Patriots have already announced their pick, too.
Oh, who is it?
Jalen Polk.
Who?
Jalen Polk, wide receiver out of Washington.
Oh, him.
So now the NFL is officially 2 draft picks behind because they're trying to do all these dumb announcements.
It's good for TV, I guess.
They'll never change that name. Well, Patriots needed a wide receiver to pair with Drake May. Go out and get Jalen Polk. That's not a bad option.
And it's not too shabby.
Polk's at 6'2", 204 pounds, so he's got the size. He's pretty big. The only problem with him is that he is a limited route runner. He's more of a run-up, go-and-get-it kind of a guy. He's not really a guy that's known to have a very expansive route tree.
Mitchell is somehow still on the board.
Well, to me, it's one of those, dude, are we seriously doing this? They're making him put on the jersey.
Oh, for the love of God.
By the time he announces who the Commanders' pick is, the Titans' pick will have already been announced.
Oh, for the love of God, just make the dang pick. Oh,
The Commanders are taking a lot of fun out of this.
for the love of God.
Could you shut up and just announce the pick?
For the love of God, just make the pick. Oh, for the love of God.
Freaking, you know what? I think the Lions fans that are in the in the area, if I heard what they were just doing, they were chanting Jared Goff's name, kind of like, dude, get it over with. Let's go. And I would like to put, I'm almost like, hey, you know what? We should put it on freaking, we should put it on a, what do you call it?
Nope.
We should put it on like Twitter and say, hey, every time they take too long to announce the pick, just start chanting Jared Goff's name. Imagine how many times that would go over.
Just make the
I know a few
dang
people who
pick.
would commit seppuku if they heard that enough.
Oh my God. They take forever. I get it. You know, they're playing homage and everything. But dang. By the time the New England Patriots announce their pick, we're going to already know the Tennessee Titans pick.
Let's see here. Obviously, we already know the Patriots pick is in, as it says on the screen, but we've already known what the pick has been for the last 5-7 minutes.
I think the funniest part of the NFL draft is how they fuck it up every year.
For the love of God. How much you want to bet he's going to take forever to make the Patriots pick?
I sure hope not. No one cares.
Yes, sir.
All right, now we're finally back up to where we're supposed to be. Only took forever.
I know many teams are ready to call their pick in while they're dicking around.
Well, see, this is the part that always is funny, is that you have people that take forever to announce picks, and then you have people that will just get their shit in right away, and then we're like off to the races. And I honestly guarantee you this, that for fans that watch the event, they're more about, hey, let's just get it going. For the NFL, they want to drag it out as long as they can, and it's like, dude, you're just making it worse. Just let the freaking people get what they want, which is the information of who's getting drafted.
That's what I mean. They fuck it up every year. I guess they never did as bad as when they showed the picks before they announced it.
It's all about money.
Yeah, they aren't make aren't making it right. They think finding new ways to make money, and all it does is
The
piss people
Titans
off.
have selected their player, and the Titans have selected defensive interior lineman Trevonde Sweat.
Ooh, good pick.
The question is the character concerns. Because, again, prior to this, yeah, he was considered a day 2 pick. But after he got that DWI, it looked like he'd scared off some people. So some people are going to be like, yeah, great talented player, has a lot of potential, but there's the character concerns.
Well, it's just one.
If
It was his fifth, I mean, you've got to be a little bit concerned. One.
I know what you're saying. I'm just simply saying, though, for some people, they do not want to have any sort of character concerns. They don't want to have any sort of character issues because character concerns and issues, they can instantly grow into locker room problems.
Oh, yeah, but a DWI, I mean, shit. That's just making a bad decision and being drunk.
Well, I'm just simply saying. I know that for some fans, they're going to look at Sweat and they're going to be like, hey, the guy is a big guy in the middle. He can shut down running lanes. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of potential. But all it takes is one stupid thing, and then you're in trouble. Because think about it. Nobody knew anything about what was going on with, what was it? Rashid Rice and Riggs, Ruggs, whatever the hell his name was. Nobody was expecting that those guys were going to get into high-speed chases that were going to result in accidents and deaths, and one of them had his entire life ruined over it, and the other one's about to have half of his season ruined over it. Alcohol is a very fickle mistress. If you don't know how to deal with it responsibly, it'll screw you up.
Sit on your porch and drink and talk to David Pike. Sounds like a good idea.
Independent Aquaman, Sweat is a defensive interior lineman. He's a big defensive interior lineman. Sweat is literally listed at 6'4", 362 pounds.
Good Lord.
He is a mammoth.
He must have had to drink a lot to get a DWI at that size.
Tafka, I'm just going to say this. I don't know how many teams care about it or don't care about it. I know what you're trying to say about the whole Warren Sapp and testing positive for weed. I'm just telling you this. When you're talking about guys that are getting paid millions upon millions of dollars, and then all of a sudden they're now in trouble with the law or with the league because they did something stupid, people are going to not have a lot of patience for you.
Yeah, you don't want $1 million sitting in the county hoosgow, that's for sure.
JT Burns, you didn't really miss too much about from the top of the second round. I'll just let you know what has already happened so far. Start of the second round started with the Bills, who drafted Keon Coleman. Then the Chargers traded up and then drafted Ladd McConkey. Falcons then traded up with Arizona and drafted Ruke Aurora. Then the Commanders drafted Jerzan Newton. Then the Patriots drafted wide receiver Jalen Polk. And the Titans just drafted defensive interior lineman Trevonde Sweat. There's another trade. The Rams have traded up. So the Rams did not make a trade last night, but they are making a trade now.
Oh, well, fuck them.
So now we have to figure out what the Rams are going to do. Could the Rams possibly draft a quarterback here to sit behind Matthew Stafford? Who did the Rams draft last night? I forget. Who did they draft? Oh, they drafted edge rusher Jared Verse.
Hey, David, I'll be right back.
Thank you for the donation, Amadeus, and thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. Lions Talk Live, I believe we make a trade, but I believe we make a trade back. I don't think we're making any trade ups today. I think we make trade backs today. Buckeye thinks that the Rams are not taking a quarterback, but I suspect the Raiders take Rattler. Dude, that would be a Raiders pick if ever there was one. The Panthers traded pick number 39 to the Rams in exchange for pick 52, a fifth-round pick, and a second-round pick in 2025. So the Rams just made a big-time trade to move up from 52 to 39 by trading a fifth this year and a second-round draft pick next year. So the first big trade-up of the night. Actually, really, the first big trade-up of the entire draft, really. So the Rams must really like somebody a lot to make this big-time trade. Because they're moving up, literally, let's see here. You're moving up 13 spots to try and make this work. And that's why they did it. The Rams just found their replacement for Aaron Donald. Two players they've drafted to beef up their defensive interior, their defensive line, and now they've got their second defensive lineman. The Rams have officially selected defensive interior lineman Brandon Fisk. So just to put that out there, Rams have just selected Brandon Fisk. So the Rams last night went out and drafted Jared Verse, an edge rusher, considered one of the best edge rushers in the draft this year. Then they go out tonight and they get a very high-quality defensive interior lineman in Fisk. Which legend is this? Oh, Isaac Bruce, the wide receiver. Oh, that's right. That's their teammates. I forgot about that too. Both of those guys, Fisk and Verse, were on the same team. They're from Florida State. So they got two teammates and two really good players at their respective positions. So that's actually a really good move. Huh. That was pick number 39, Raymond Peterson. That was the pick. And now the Eagles have traded, and they're now on the clock. So another trade. There has now been a total of 5 trades, I think, so far. The Philadelphia Eagles just traded up, and they have traded with the Commanders to take their pick at pick 40. So another big move up of at least 10 spots. And like I just said, the Rams selected Brandon Fisk, defensive interior. And the pick is in for the Eagles at pick number 40. No word yet as to what the pick is, but last night the Eagles selected cornerback Keon Mitchell, so now we have to figure out where they go today. Could they go wide receiver? Could they go linebacker? Could they go safety? It's kind of surprising, though, that Cooper DeJean is still on the board. I don't see that happening, Perry. I don't see it happening. I don't think the Eagles are going to draft 2 cornerbacks as their 2 top picks. I don't think they're going to get DeJean either. Wow, I stand corrected. Perry, you were correct. The Philadelphia Eagles at pick 40 have selected cornerback Cooper DeJean. The Eagles have selected with their 2 top picks of the year cornerbacks. They selected Keon Mitchell last night at pick 22, and they just selected Cooper DeJean at pick 40. 2 cornerbacks for the Eagles in this year's draft already. I'm shocked a little bit. That's a bit crazy. DeJean can be a lot more than just a cornerback and a safety. He can play a lot of things.
Yep, my buddy, the Packers fan, is laughing and pissed that Packers didn't get DeJean. No, they already did, and they already picked. Yep.
Packers are officially now on the clock. Now, the Packers last night infamously drafted a tackle, so now we get to see what they do tonight. Wow, another trade. The Saints are now on the clock. The Packers have traded with the Saints. Did you hear that, DC? The Packers just traded with the Saints.
Yep. Hey, Mike, looking forward to this pick, are you?
Tafka, the Packers don't hold the pick anymore. They just traded it away to the Saints.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
When the Saints go marching in.
He doesn't know that the pick was traded yet.
Oh, he about to find out. But now I'm curious to see what the Saints gave up, because the Saints didn't have to trade up that far. They traded up 4 spots, but still, I'm wanting to see what the Eagles gave up for their trade.
Motherfucker, why do I keep losing my lighter?
Oh, Zachary, I guarantee you he's shocked right now. I guarantee you Tom Grossi is losing his mind.
Grossi is about ready to commit seppuku.
Probably. He's got to be wondering, what the hell are they doing? So, this is what the Packers just got. The Packers traded number 41 in exchange for the Saints' number 45 pick, 168 pick, and 190 pick.
No, we had 3 picks, I guess.
The Saints just drafted cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Shit, and Saints just drafted a quarterback.
So Kool-Aid is now gone, and Cooper DeJean is now gone. So think about that. The Packers just traded out of their pick, didn't go for a cornerback, and the Saints took a cornerback. I guarantee you this. If I was Tom Grossi, I would be so pissed, because it's like all the cornerbacks that you could have had, and the Packers passed on every single damn one of them.
The Patriot and Ravens and Packers way.
This is why I'm wearing the blazer, Grossi. And it's a better blazer than yours.
So the Eagles, what did they get? The Eagles traded pick 50 and 53. So they traded both of their second-round draft picks and a fifth-round draft pick next year Oh, no, their 5th-round draft pick this year. So they traded 3 draft picks this year, and the Eagles got, in return for trading away all that, the 40th overall pick, a 3rd-round draft pick, and a 5th-round draft pick. So the Commanders actually got quite a lot. They got two seconds and a 5th, while the Eagles got a 2nd, 3rd, and a 5th. So pretty big trade right there. All right, so like I said, obviously the Packers were on the clock at pick 41, but then they traded with the Saints. The Saints then selected Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I mean, I'm actually a little bit glad about that. If they didn't get,
I don't know what the Saints gave up just yet. The NFL's really lagging behind. I'm still waiting for them to kind of catch up here. Like, the NFL's just now announcing that the Packers are on the clock. They haven't even announced that the Packers are trading yet. But anyway, after the Saints select officially Kool-Aid McKinstry here, the next team on the clock is the Texans. No announcement as of yet, Buckeye. No announcement as of yet. Now, the Texans could take wide receiver. They could. Wow, no. So, the pick for the Texans is another cornerback. The Saints, obviously they're announcing what the Saints getting. So, the pick for the Texans is cornerback Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter is going to the Texans, cornerback from Georgia. That's 3 cornerbacks now in a row. Cooper DeJean, then Kool-Aid McKinstry, then Kamari Lassiter. Now the Cardinals are on the clock.
I'm going to laugh my ass off if the Titans select a fucking cornerback, defensive tackle, or wide receiver. I'm going to laugh my goddamn ass.
Now, to answer the question as to what the Saints gave up to move up and get Kool-Aid, that actually came across here not that long ago. I'm just trying to see here. So, what did they give up? Actually, they did not. They just explained what was going on, so never mind. I still don't know what the trade details are as of yet. Perry Braswell is still on the board. He has not yet been drafted. Perry, I don't think we're going to go another cornerback. I just don't see us doing it. Cardinals are officially on the clock. Question is, what will they do? Cardinals have made their selection, and it is another cornerback. There are now a grand total of 4 cornerbacks that have gone off the board in the last 4 picks. The Cardinals select cornerback Max Melton out of Rutgers. Eagles selected Cooper DeJean. Then the Saints traded up and selected McKinstry. Then the Texans just selected Lassiter, and now the Cardinals are selecting Max Melton, cornerback out of Rutgers. Now, after the Cardinals select Max Melton, the next team on the clock is the Raiders. The Raiders last night, I'm trying to remember, what did the Raiders get last night? Oh, they drafted a tight end. That's right. They were the one oddball that drafted a tight end. Do I think Kansas City reached on Worthy? I mean, if it was any other quarterback, potentially, yes, I do. Because the only quarterback I could see in the first round that could make Xavier Worthy look good enough to be a first-round talent would be Patrick Mahomes. So it's really going to depend on what Mahomes can do with Worthy, to be honest. Looks like the draft announcers are taking a short break. I'm looking at some of these grades that PFF is giving for some of these players, and it's actually kind of interesting what they're giving for certain players. So far, actually, I got to take a look at this because I've only seen it a few times. Let's see here. 1. Trying to see how many of those grades they've given out. 2.
So, how are we doing?
3, 4. Have you not been listening to what's been going on?
Yes, I've been looking at my phone.
So far, things are going pretty fine. 5, 6. So far, PFF, out of all the picks that have been put up, has only given 6 elite grades for picks, and the Lions are one of them. But right now, there's a run on cornerbacks. I mean, when you've got 4 cornerbacks that have gone in a row, that right there ought to tell you something. Huh?
That tells me that we made a great decision by picking the corner when we did.
Probably. But the second round so far has been all defensive and wide receivers, because we've had literally 3 wide receivers drafted, and then everything else has been cornerback and defensive lineman. That's it. So it seems like what the draft is becoming is like drafting in waves. Like, hey, if this is what teams are drafting and focusing on, that's what they're going to draft. If it's a run on wide receivers, they're drafting wide receivers. If it's a run on quarterbacks, they're drafting quarterbacks, whatever the case might be.
Who are the Cardinals taking?
Max Melton.
Ooh.
They're
The
taking
Rutgers
Max
one.
Melton out of Rutgers. Now the
Interesting.
Raiders are officially on the clock.
Interesting pick.
It is interesting, actually, because Max Melton, I was under the impression, was more of a 3rd round pick, maybe a 4th round pick. So that could be considered a little bit of a reach. And he's officially gone.
Max Melton.
No, the Raiders made their selection.
Oh, who did the Raiders pick?
JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, is now officially a Raider.
Good pick.
Raiders have now picked the best center in the draft. They went out and got Jackson Powers Johnson to be the center anchor of their offensive line. And now the Packers are back on the clock again.
Are they going to trade down again because they didn't get Cooper DeJean?
I'm going to tell you this right now. There's only one cornerback left that the Packers can go after at this point. There's only one really good one left.
Who is it?
TJ Tampa. He's the only one left. All the other ones are gone. So if I'm the Packers, if I'm Tom Grousey, I'm like, dude, you better fucking take TJ Tampa. Because after that, there's really no good cornerbacks left.
Well, just think about this. That every time he hopes that somebody is a Packer, Tom Grossi, he's wrong. And then he humiliates himself on the live stream.
Wow! I know some Lions fans are not going to be happy about this pick from the Packers.
Who is it?
Edrin Cooper.
Edrin Cooper.
Linebacker out of Texas A&M goes to the Packers. Edrin Cooper.
Yeah, so the edge guy's gone now.
Dean DeGrier, I'm not sold on Enos Rakestraw. I have never been sold on Enos Rakestraw. Rakestraw, I think, was wildly overvalued coming into the draft, and then when he got to the combine, all that did was make it worse for him.
Good pick by the Raiders.
Hey, you get the best center in the draft, and you get him almost to the middle of the second round. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good pickup for the Raiders.
Hey, maybe that Packers linebacker will cost us another, or give us another few cheap penalties.
And then cry up the tunnel. I will still
hit a trainer. I mean, I'm a mean asshole who is 100% bush league, but I'd still never hit a trainer.
Well, to be fair, he didn't hit the trainer. He just put hands on him. He shoved him, which even still, it's like, dude, you're not supposed to do that.
I mean, you can pat him on the back.
Jackson Powers Johnson is officially a Raider.
Even I'm not that much of an asshole.
Yeah, and then he wants to cry up the freaking, tunnel like, boo-hoo, woe is me.
Oh, even I know not to jump at center, but oh well.
So the Packers officially made their pick, taking Edrin Cooper. So now the Colts are on the clock at pick 46.
What do you think the Colts do? Got to go wide receiver, right?
It's what I thought they were going to do last night, and they
Oh,
didn't.
trade. Hold on. The Panthers are on the clock.
Yep, Panthers just traded with the Colts. So the Panthers are definitely being very active in this draft. They've already made like 2 or 3 trades.
What did the Panthers do?
Well, the Panthers have already drafted a wide receiver because they drafted one to start their draft night in first round. And then they just traded up again. So now I got to wonder where they're going here. Are they going to go tight end, center? Because they've still got a lot of needs. There's a couple of ways they could go about this.
Is there even a good tight end left?
I don't know. Usually when it comes to tight ends, usually the only one that I kept hearing was Brock Bowers.
Same. Oh, shove your Packers chance up your knee, you know what.
I'm very curious to see what the Panthers do here. The Panthers are definitely being very aggressive in this draft cycle.
It all started with the trade up last night. I wonder what the Panthers are doing. So the Packers still don't have a corner. Tom Grassi cannot be happy about that. If I'm Tom Grassi, I'm livid because he knows what his team needs.
Brian Branch.
He wanted that last year.
That was hysterical. The Brian Branch reaction.
Ooh!
Reaction great.
David, did you see
Did I see what?
what the Panthers are picking? Because I saw it.
No, not yet.
I saw it.
And I just saw it. Panthers are selecting running back Jonathan Brooks.
Hey, we've shown that it's not a bad idea to take a running back early, like everyone says.
It's not really early. It's a second round.
Yep.
Still, that's interesting. We had a run on cornerbacks, 4 cornerbacks in a row, and then we switched it up with each pick. We then went center, linebacker, and now we just went running back. Now the Giants are on the clock at pick 47.
I feel bad for one of my Giant friends. Every pick that he's wanted in the second round, they get taken. He wanted Cooper DeJean. He's gone. He wanted Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's gone. He wanted Brooks. He's going to be gone. I keep telling him, try again.
I know that technically doesn't mean a whole lot, but, you know.
I still don't know what the Saints gave up, Perry. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Running back.
Now, New York needs running back or offensive line. Hell, they need anything.
Okay. That's true.
No, David, I'll be right back. I got to use the restroom.
All right.
I always thought that was a funny coincidence. At one point, the Redskins had 2 RG3s. Sexy Rex. They had Sexy Rexy and Robert Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Brooks, running back, Texas, Carolina.
Yep.
I will not be shocked if Giants take a running back right now, too. But you would hate to say you're somehow way ahead.
It's just that broadcast is so far behind.
Okay. I am back.
Wow,
Giants have made their selection.
Who is it?
Safety Tyler Nubin.
Ooh, good pick.
More shockingly, surprisingly.
No, Perry. The West Virginia center guard has not yet been taken. Zach Frazier is still on the board.
Let's get him.
Jaguars are now on the clock. Jaguars do need assistance at guard and center, so Frazier could be going here. So, okay, Perry, here's the answer to your question. For the Saints to move up from pick 45 to 41, the Saints gave up 168 and 190. So, in essence, the Packers moved back 4 positions, and they picked up two extra day 3 picks. So, they really didn't get much. Dean DeGreer, the Giants took safety Tyler Nubin.
See, now it's starting to go quickly.
Well, it's starting to go quickly because now you've got teams that are kind of now getting into the heart of their draft boards. So now teams are trying to, figure out what's the best way to get the players they're looking for. That's why we're having so many trades right now, because players are flying off the boards, and you got these GMs that are thinking, well, if I want this player, I got to move up. I got to trade for him. So this is what makes the draft a little bit more fun, too, because now when you have trades going back and forth, you don't know what's about to happen. It gets a lot more intriguing. And the Jaguars pick is in. The Jaguars are drafting defensive interior lineman Mason Smith.
Cool.
It's a little bit of a reach, isn't it?
I'd have to check. It's definitely a reach because just before the draft, he was being drafted around pick 140. So I don't know why they took him.
There has to be a reason.
Well, according to PFF, it says Smith is a physically gifted prospect, but one who will need to develop. He has the speed to he has to speed up his play, both in recognition and movements, to be more than a rotational player with plus size. Because he is a big boy. He's 6'6", 315. But this is a guy that in college has been primarily a rotational player. So definitely a reach here for the Jaguars.
Agreed.
Amadeus asks, what are you hoping if we make our pick? If we actually take the pick, I'm honestly hoping we take an edge rusher, and I'm hoping that it's Chris Broswell, to be honest, if he's still there. If he's not, then I'm kind of open to anything. It could be Zach Frazier, in my opinion. It could be the best wide receiver that's available. There's a couple of ways the Lions could go about this, but I truly believe that the Lions will trade back because there's just not really anything at 61 that really is that enticing to me. But again, I'm not the GM. And I really think that, Brad Holmes is going to want to get more draft capital. That's just me.
Barber is announcing the Giants pick.
And the Bengals have made their pick.
Who is it?
Another defensive interior lineman, Chris Jenkins.
Oh, when you said Chris, I was like, no.
The Bengals have selected Chris Jenkins, defensive interior lineman out of Michigan. So the Giants haven't even had their pick announced, and I'm already 2 picks ahead of them.
I mean, how the hell did the Bengals not draft an offensive lineman every fucking draft pick?
I don't know, because the PFF users that are putting in their predictions said that they thought Zach Frazier was going to be the pick. And not only did they not go Zach Frazier, they went the opposite end and to a player that's considered a day 3 prospect.
So they reached heavily.
Yeah. They drafted a guy that's considered on PFF's board 140th best overall at 48. They drafted a guy by almost 100 different positions.
They probably don't care about PFF.
They probably just don't care about rankings. Even Brad Holmes says that he doesn't care about mock drafts.
Oh, I know he doesn't. But sometimes you just have to sit back and you're like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. Like, the best example I can give is when Bob Quinn drafted Jelani Tavai, who was considered a 5th-round pick, but we drafted him in the 2nd round because the Patriots were going to take him. And I'm like, dude.
And remember, they had to cut the commercial just to find its highlights.
Well, Tavai has had a solid career. Not with us, but...
No, with the Patriots.
Yep.
We are getting very, very close at each pick for the Lions pick.
Well, by my watch, there's only 11 picks left until the Lions are up. By the actual live draft, there's quite a few more, but that's because they're taking their sweet bippity time about this.
We'll be here tomorrow morning. We wait for the live draft.
No, tomorrow morning is day 3.
No, but it's going to take that long. They'll run this draft out all week if they could.
Oh,
well, they used to. There used to be like 20 freaking rounds of the draft.
Oh, I would die. I would physically die.
You are correct also, Amadeus. Tease Tabor was another one.
So, what do we think is going to happen next?
The broadcast is going to be slow?
Yep.
That's pretty much guaranteed.
Oh, yeah, and this person is giving a speech like crazy. It ruins the draft when they do this. It really does.
Ouch.
What? What happened?
It's just my neck. Trying to get it to not be so stiff.
You got to go to a masseuse.
Yeah, like
not
Deshaun
not an
Watson does.
option around here.
I'm sure Deshaun Watson has a few names up there for you, bro.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Perry Ball. Quinn could draft offensive linemen all day, but when it came to cornerbacks, when it came to linebackers, when it came to virtually anything on defense, he couldn't do anything.
Yeah. I remember, David, when you and I had the conversations about Bob Quinn, and you and I were both like, what is he doing? And you were trying to make sense of it. And you were kind of defending him a little bit.
Well, to a certain extent, I was trying to, because I'm like, there's got to be a reason why he's doing what he's doing. But the more I kept thinking about it, I'm like, I can't think of a reason. Eventually, I just came to the conclusion that Bob Quinn didn't know crap from Shinola.
And he hasn't had a GM job since. Not even a interview. I doubt he ever shows his face in Detroit.
That's why I said what I've said about Bob Quinn. When it came to analyzing freaking offensive linemen, he was great. That was one thing he proved he could do. But past that, he really couldn't, figure out what was good talent anywhere else. Oh, another Michigan player is now off the board.
Blake Corum.
Nope. The Commanders or the Washington Redskins have selected cornerback Mike Sanderstil.
Ooh, a lot of Lion fans wanted him.
Agreed.
I'm glad he's not there. Because I said it once, I said it twice, I said it 3 times. I said, we are not drafting Mike Sanderstil. I don't care what anyone says. He is too small. He is not going to be able to play with the big boys. But now he's going to go play with the Commanders.
Now you don't have to worry about him.
Nope, don't have to worry about it at all.
Alrighty, guys. I got to check out here for a bit.
All right.
I'll call back in later.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Later, bro.
See ya.
Later. I'm not leaving, but I'm just telling him. All right. Has the Pittsburgh Steelers pick been announced?
No. Pittsburgh
Okay,
Steelers pick has not been announced.
So they're catching up now.
Well, they're trying to anyway.
Oh, Chris Jenkins went too?
Yeah, I already said he went. He went to the Bengals.
Ooh.
The Bengals got Chris Jenkins, and then the Commanders got Sanderstil.
We got a couple Michigan. Rich Eisen is having an orgasm over here.
Of course he is. He's a U of M guy. He's had 2 straight U of M men drafted. So, yeah, that's going to be something big for him.
He's having an orgasm. I'm laughing. I'm trying not to make it so noticeable, but I'm laughing my ass off because he's going crazy.
Still no word on what the Steelers are doing.
Oh, I know what they are taking, and not a lot of Lion fans are going to be happy.
I haven't seen it just yet, so it's probably about to come. It's probably about to come across my screen in a moment.
Did you see it now?
Not yet.
Oh, I'm telling you who. Want me to tell you?
Zach Frazier.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing DC left when he did. He'd be crying right about now.
Ugh.
Well, that now takes that off the board.
You can cross that off.
Colts are now back up on the clock. Oh. Zach Frazier is going to be a Steeler. Definitely a lot of good centers have played for the Steelers.
All right.
Samuelstone might be the best player pound for pound, but I'm talking about inch for inch. The main issue with Samuelstone is his size in terms of the fact that he's vertically challenged, not the fact of his weight. The way I look at it is this. I hope Sanders still proves me wrong, but I know this much for a fact. There's a reason why you don't see a lot of cornerbacks in the NFL that are 5'9" or shorter.
So, what do we think the Colts do here?
Well, at this point, I don't know. I would have thought they would have drafted a wide receiver, but they decided to say no, and they decided to go a completely different direction with their first pick and go with an edge rusher. And then when they had their chance to draft the second time, they decided to trade. So I still say wide receiver. This would be a chance, I think, where they could go either Adonai Mitchell or Troy Franklin.
Can't believe he's still there. There has to be a reason.
From what I'm hearing, there's character concerns.
Oh, the kicker. The kicker for the Steelers. Oh, no, that's a tight end. He looked like, what's his name? Yep, Zach Frazier is a Steeler.
Boom! I got it right.
What?
Colts are drafting wide receiver Adonai Mitchell.
Steal. That's a steal.
Edjo 487. Mike Sanders still is 5'9". I've checked it out. Go to his scouting combine profile through the NFL. He is 5'9". But yes, the Colts are now drafting Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. Commanders are now back on the clock again.
Well, we know. Well, we can't say it for sure. But for so far, Brad Holmes is not trading up. Okay, what does the Washington Commanders do?
I have no idea.
I'm
They
saying I'm
just
going by their
they
real
just
name.
drafted a cornerback, and then they drafted a quarterback before that. So I would think they probably go offensive line here, maybe edge. This could be a chance where maybe we could see another edge rusher go off the board. I'm thinking maybe Isaac out of Penn State.
Oh, I thought you were going to say somebody else. I was going to say, don't you dare.
Don't I dare what?
The player that you and me both want for the edge, for the Lions.
Who knows?
I'm trying to manifest it that he'll be there at 61.
Well, we're getting closer and closer.
I'm doing that. Remember on the when the Lions do the draft thing on the Lions channel, and they had the draft pick interview and everything. You know what I'm talking about? The draft
Not
show.
especially.
I'm talking about when like Brad Holmes talks about what he was
Oh,
thinking.
yeah. He's not going to say their name because he's afraid if he does, it's going to manifest itself into existence.
That's what I'm doing. I'm like, stay, 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 stay. I'm like, he's going to be there. He's going to be there. I'm manifesting it into existence. And I know a lot of people who want Needham. I understand why. He's a Michigan-born.
Nealand, again, I wouldn't have a problem with him, but just the fact that he's coming from a college that doesn't play top prospects all that often, I'm wondering if he's that good because of the lack of talent or if he's actually that good.
What? Something
Nothing.
happened?
No, I'm just trying to get comfortable in this chair. After a
dang
while, there's no amount of wiggling or readjusting you can do to make you comfortable.
You made me think that the Washington Commanders made a pick.
Nope. They haven't made anything yet. Like I said, I don't know what the Commanders are about to do. The Commanders are one of those teams where from any pick, from pick to pick, it can be really weird. Because, again, I didn't think that they were going to draft a cornerback in the second round where they did, but they decided to do that. So I don't know what they're going to do here at pick 53. Wow.
What, something interesting?
Yeah, they drafted a tight end.
Ooh.
The Washington Commanders draft tight end Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State. Considered the 105th best prospect, they just drafted him at pick 53. They just drafted a fourth-round drafted prospect in the second round. The Browns are now on the clock. We are officially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks away from the Lions making their first pick of the night. Lions Talk Live. I know you want Nealand. I know you want him. I get it. I understand it. Belinda Gerard says, keep this live stream longer. Wait, what? What, you want me to stay on longer after the draft? That's, ooh. JT Burns is asking, what did PFF have Arnold rated as? That's a good question, actually. Arnold was rated, according to PFF, as the 14th best prospect in the draft. So we got a guy 10 picks removed from where he should have gone, and he was considered the third best cornerback prospect in his position, which I think that's stupid.
Agreed. PFF just, I don't go by their rankings.
Nealand's not the only edge rusher that's about left. There's actually about 4 of them left that are still pretty good.
Yeah, one of the ones
You've still got Isaac from Penn State. You've still got Ellis from Utah. You still obviously got Nealand. And then obviously you got the guy from Alabama.
Braswell,
not Boswell.
Sorry, keep on mistaking it. It's a weird name. At least to me it is.
Says the Browns need interior lineman and linebacker.
Interesting.
I'm curious to see what the Browns do here.
Any ideas?
I would probably go with the lineman from Oregon, Brandon Dorlus, if I was in their shoes.
So far, I'm not seeing anything on PFF or anything.
Come on, let's get it going. We're
taking forever. I mean, I guess we're ahead of schedule. What do you think? No, I said I guess we're ahead of schedule.
Oh, of course we're ahead of schedule.
I'll say this. It wouldn't surprise me if we made the 61st pick, then trade up in the 3rd round. Or trade back in, I should say, in the 3rd round.
Well, like I said, I fully expect that Brad Holmes is going to make a trade tonight. I just don't know if he's going to take capital from next year to trade back into this draft, or if he's going to trade out from 61 to get more draft capital later on. I just don't know which way he's going to go.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
Well, I was right about the position for the Browns, but I was not right about the individual. The Browns select defensive interior lineman Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State.
Oh, they went Homer. They went with the Homer pick.
That now means that the Dolphins are officially on the clock.
Where does Miami go?
It's a good question. They have a lot of needs at offensive line. Who did the Dolphins take? They took Chop Robinson last night, so I think they might go offensive line here to give more protection for Tua. The question is just which offensive lineman do they go after, because they need help at all positions. This could be the time where we could see Penei Sewell's cousin go off the board from BYU. We could see the guy from Yale go off the board at tackle. We could see the interior offensive lineman Christian Haynes go off the board here. As far as center is concerned, I don't think there's any really top other centers. So if I had to take a guess, I'm probably going to go with a tackle.
Which one?
I think I'm going to go with one from Yale. That's just my personal perspective. I'm almost 90% certain that the Dolphins are going to take an offensive lineman because that's where they need a lot of help at.
Well, I'll say this. You were correct on what we were taking the corner last night.
Well, I was right on the corner and I was right on the college. I just wasn't right on the player because I didn't think Arnold was going to be available.
Well, I'll still give you credit. Got to give credit to the person that, was right on the position and everything. You did warn me.
Jason, I would like it if we could get Cooper Beebe, but I don't know if we're going to be able to because drafting him at 61 is a little rich. So if you're trying to get him, you're going to have to trade back. Plus, on top of that, the reports I'm hearing is that the Lions really want to get Sione Vaki. So I don't know.
I hope they don't take him in the second round.
No, they won't take him in the second. Sione Vaki is considered more of a day 3, is more considered like a late day 2, early day 3 prospect. So,
well, you never know with Brad Holmes.
That's true. You never do know with Holmes, but still, it's like I said, Holmes has the ability to go any number of ways with this draft. He can trade back in. He can trade out. He could stay. He's not pigeonholed to any one particular spot. He can do whatever he wants because of that great job he's done over the last 3 years building the roster.
Well, according to Jeff Risden, Lions had a lot of interest in Michael Hall.
No, so be it. But I'm not saying that the Lions won't draft another defensive interior lineman or another defensive lineman, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they'll go edge because they have invested a literal crap ton of talent into that middle of the line. You've got Pascal, you've got Kaminsky, you have McNeil, you have Levi. I mean, you've got a lot of beef in the middle there. So it's like, dude, between all of that, I don't see why you would want to add more to it. You need an edge rusher.
You're not wrong.
Still waiting on the word for who the Dolphins are going to pick. So it seems at this point we've kind of officially caught back up with the actual draft coverage. Currently, the Dolphins have about 6.5 minutes left on the clock.
Well, the Dolphins are about to make their pick now.
Maybe.
No, on my end they are.
Oh, it shows the pick is in also on my end, too. So obviously they're not trading. The question is who they taking.
Patrick Paul.
Who the hell is Patrick Paul?
offensive tackle, Houston.
Well, I was right about them taking a tackle, but again, I didn't think that was going to be the guy. Patrick, dude, they go with him over the other dude. I don't understand that at all. There are way better prospects that are on the board, and they go after this dude.
I said the name because it was just announced on my TV before you.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's big. He's 6'7", 315. He's a big old boy. So, interesting.
Well, who did the Cowboys take?
Don't care.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't care what the Cowboys do. Cowboys can stick it where the sun don't shine, which is their brown star.
Okay. Understandable.
Anyway, but yes, the Cowboys, Cowgirls are on the clock.
I just laughed at what Justin Rogers said. So, you know, on Twitter, how they have these women that are from the site, the site, you know what I'm talking about, David? But it's like they say, oh, big ass in bio or something like that. You know, those types of Twitter accounts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Justin Rogers says, well, that's one vote for a guard at 61.
Well, we'll see what actually happens at 61. There's still a couple of picks between here and 61, so a lot of things can still happen. How much you want to bet? Could the Cowboys draft Blake Corum?
Well, they're in talks with Ezekiel Elliott.
I think that's more just for sentimentality value. Ezekiel Elliott does not have the same ability to play like he used to.
There's Jerry Jones smiling.
I wonder how much Listerine he has to use to make his mouth not smell like an open grave.
Only you could roast Jerry Jones.
Oh, I'm sure I'm not the only one that roasts him.
I understand.
They also could go linebacker. They could go with the best linebacker that's in the draft right now, and Peyton Wilson.
Ooh, that could be an option because they do need to replace Van Der Esch, right?
Mm-hmm. He retired. He was having problem. He kept having problems with his neck.
Yeah, that's a good reason to retire. Ooh,
how's it going?
Nealand is a Cowboy.
Marshawn Nealand, a Cowboy?
Yeah.
Well, that takes that one off the table. Yep, Marshawn Nealand. drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Marshawn Nealon, the edge rusher out of Western Michigan, goes to Dallas.
Oh, that's going to make a lot of people angry in the chat.
It's going to make some Lions fans upset. I know that much. I know Lions Talk Live's not going to be happy about that. I'm going to say this. I thought he could have been, but I was like, I don't know if he's going to make it.
Yeah,
Marshawn Nealon is going to Dallas.
We came close.
Now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are officially on the clock.
I can tell you now, a lot of Lions fans are ranting on Twitter about the Cowboys pick.
Hey, well, look at it as it's kind of payback. They helped us get the freaking Terry and Arnold pick. They just took Marshawn Nealon. So I call it a fair swap in a sense.
Yeah, in a way, you're right.
They got a pick that a lot of Lions fans wanted. We got a pick that I wanted. So, hey, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I wasn't that high on Needler, but I know a lot of my friends were.
Yeah, Lions fans don't like Dallas.
How many boos do you expect?
For Dallas, quite a lot in Detroit. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, you're not going to like the Bucs, Andrew.
Please tell me they didn't.
They did. Tampa Bay is taking edge rusher Chris Braswell.
Son of a bitch. Of course they do.
Well, there's now a run on edge rushers. That's 2 in a row.
Well, that... I'm sure I'm getting laughed at by the chat right now because they knew how much I wanted Boswell in the second round. Roswell, whatever his name is, it doesn't matter. He's not a Lion.
Chris Braswell.
Yeah, that hurts. Well, now the chat wants to know who's left at edge. Do you have any inkling on who's left at edge?
There's a couple. You still got Isaac. You've still got Jonah Ellis. Past that, though, it kind of gets rather slim. I think this is where the Packers finally decide to take a cornerback because they kind of have to. And we'll see what the Packers decide to do, but if I was them, I would take a cornerback. Well, I was right about a defensive back, but it's not a cornerback.
Who is it?
Safety Javon Bullard.
Who in the blue hell is that?
He's considered one of the best safety prospects in this draft. He's a guy that's considered kind of like a nickel corner safety kind of player. So he's kind of like a poor man's Brian Branch. So Bullard is now gone.
So who do we think the Texans go with?
I would probably go wide receiver here. No, I don't know if I'd go wide. I don't know. They could go a number of ways, really. They could go, you know what? I think they go linebacker. They've been sticking with defense quite a bit this draft. I think they go with the best linebacker in the draft right here. I think they go with Peyton Wilson.
Think so?
That's my guess. I could be wrong.
Well, we've been wrong before.
Two more picks, folks, and then the Lions will be on the clock.
We'll see if they're officially on the clock when they are up. If you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously. Currently, right now, we still haven't even gotten the Packers pick announced.
Oh, well, on my end, I haven't even gotten the Bucks pick announced.
Well, still, this is what the NFL does. When they go to commercial, it doesn't necessarily mean that they stop picking. It just means now they've got to play catch up.
Well, whatever.
Texans pick is in. Texans are drafting tackle Blake Fisher.
Interesting pick.
Doesn't matter. We're now, in my area, of what I'm looking at, we are now at the Bills pick, which is pick 60.
So we are basically one pick away.
As far as who we know the Lions are going to pick. Answer, Chris Mason, is offensive tackle. Offensive tackle Blake Fisher for the Texans.
Well, you should know before we pick if the Lions make a pick or not. Well, who do the Bills take?
Well, they drafted a wide receiver earlier.
Yes, they did.
I don't know. They need a lot of crap because they lost a lot. but I think they might go cornerback here because that's what they need a lot of.
Agreed.
Because they don't have really a good corner at all. They don't really have much of anything as a corner is concerned. They at least got a linebacker / edge rusher in Von Miller.
Brian Bulaga. Haven't heard that name in a minute. Is he still playing?
Golston?
No, Brian Bulaga.
Couldn't tell you. It's not a name I'm familiar with. They're trying to get back up to speed. They've now already announced that the Packers pick is in, but they haven't announced it officially on television.
Have they announced the Bills pick on your end? Like on...
No, they haven't announced it yet. Trust me, I'm keeping track.
Because I'm behind on the TV.
Yep, that's who the Packers took, Javon Bullard. Braylon Trice is still out there, yes, but he's not considered a top prospect.
Curious to see if we keep the pick.
Well, there hasn't been a trade in a while. There's not been a trade since... I can't even remember. I think the last time we had a trade was when the Panthers traded up to go get running back Jonathan Brooks. So it's been a hot minute since we've had a trade.
That is true.
Still waiting for word from the Bills.
They have officially caught up to what the Bills are
The Bills just made their pick.
Okay, now the Lions are on the clock.
The Bills selected safety Cole Bishop.
All right,
the Lions are officially on the clock.
Let's see what they do.
I still say edge rusher, and the best edge rusher on the board is Adisa Isaac out of Penn State. Lions are officially on the clock, even though it's not being shown on television, but the Lions are on the clock.
Let's see.
We'll see what the Lions do. Will they stay? Will they trade? We don't know, but we're about to find out.
We've been waiting.
Yeah, we've been waiting now for over 2 hours, but we'll see what they decide to do.
And of course I go to commercial.
You didn't think that was not going to happen?
Oh, I knew it was going to happen.
NFL draft number 1, but also it's in Detroit. Of course they're going to do that.
Curious to see if the Lions trade the pick or make it.
Still waiting.
Cole Bishop is a Bill.
Yep. Oh my God. No, they didn't.
What?
The Lions drafted another corner. They just drafted Enos Rakestraw. The Lions select Enos Rakestraw Jr. Oh my! Oh, wow! Oh wow! Oh, I'm telling you this right now. I know Derek is not going to be happy.
Neither is Jeremy B.
Rakestraw's big. He's physical, but he has got some technical problems. Like, ooh, Rakestraw. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Now we wait to see if the Lions make a trade up in the 3rd round.
I'm surprised that Brad Holmes would go and draft another corner. I would not have thought that he would have drafted another cornerback. That to me was just like not something I would have expected him to do. I thought, hey, you know, you've got a need that you have to get filled at edge rusher, and it looks like Brad Holmes is more than content to say, nope, I'm cool with it. But now it looks like, dude,
Dan Davis is not happy.
Dude, you drafted Terry and Arnold last night. You traded for Carlton Davis, and then you draft Enos Rakestraw. The way I look at it is this is Brad Holmes responding to the freaking rest of the division that's going out and making these selections for these big wide receivers. But I know this, that for some people, they're going to look at this and they're going to be like, but you're not addressing the pass rushing problems.
That's all I can say is that's 2 corners. I did not have that on my draft card.
I look at Enos and I'm like, dude, I mean, does he have the size that you want in a cornerback? Absolutely he does. He's got 6 foot. He's 6 foot as far as height is concerned. He could stand to put on a little bit more weight. He is very smart. That's one of his best qualities is that he's got a very high football IQ and he's good in zone coverage.
Well,
but I'm just going to say this. The biggest issue that I have with him is his lack of ball production.
Okay, the pick is officially in for the Detroit Lions on my TV.
Yeah, that's true.
And Kelvin Johnson. Wait, is it Kelvin Johnson or Barry Sanders?
It's Barry. Kelvin would have been the guy that would have announced for 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens pick is also in as well. They're drafting an offensive tackle. A guy that I've never heard of, but oh well. What? Barry's not announcing it. Did he call him Ennis? It's Enos. I get why they went to it, but for me, it's like, I just don't know if it's a good decision. Like, I trust Brad Holmes, but I'm sitting back here and I'm like, okay, is Ragshaw a bad pick? No, he's not a bad pick. But is there other guys that you could have taken that would have been better options? That's where I'm having the hard time getting on this one. And again, there's still a whole nother round to go, folks. We still have the third round to go. There's nothing that says Brad Holmes can't trade back up. I don't know if he will or won't, though. I'm surprised. That's all. I just texted Derek just to make sure he's doing okay, because I know he put on Twitter about getting an edge rusher, and I thought for sure we were getting an edge rusher. I'm one of those guys that right now I don't love the pick, but I don't hate it. It's just one of those picks where I'm sitting back and I'm like, I guess. Like last night's pick with Terry and Arnold, I love that pick. That pick was awesome. That was an amazing pick in my opinion. But this pick, I'm just sitting back and I'm like, I get it. He's physical. I get it. He's intelligent. I get it. He's a tone setter. And that all fits with what Dan Campbell's looking for his players. But I look at what's going on, and it's just kind of like a little bit weird for me. And we officially have a trade. The Kansas City Chiefs are trading up one spot with the San Francisco 49ers. Well, I'll definitely say this. The Lions are cornering the market, that's for sure. Let's see here. The Chiefs just took Penei Sewell's cousin. Kingsley of BYU is going to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, here's what I'm going to say this. The one thing I do like about this is that Brad Holmes is clearly addressing a weakness, because last year the biggest weakness for our team was the pass ability to cover. We got absolutely torched by quarterbacks, torched by them. And so what Brad Holmes has now done is he's traded a third-round draft pick to get Carlton Davis. He traded a third-round draft pick to move up and get Terrion Arnold. Then he went out and he drafted Enos Rakestraw. So it's like, okay, you've gone out and you've now added 3 different cornerbacks to this defensive secondary. You've added a humongous infusion of talent to that defensive secondary room. Now, my question is this. If you've drafted that much talent at cornerback, because you've drafted now 2 guys, you've drafted 2. There are 2 questions I have to ask. Number 1, what the hell happens with Carlton Davis once his contract is up? Because he's only on a 1-year contract. That's number 1. Number 2 question I have to ask is, we knew that the Lions were potentially considering what they were going to do with Brian Branch as far as whether or not he was going to continue to stay in the nickel position. To me, it now looks like they're going to move him back more to safety and have him more kind of back there rather than at the corner position, because it's now like, dude, Carlton Davis, Rakestraw, Arnold, Mosley. I mean, dude, you've got more than enough corner depth to where you don't really need to have Branch come down and play slot nickel. You can have him back there in the corner. The way I look at it is this is a very interesting decision because the Lions cannot keep everybody for their roster. They just can't. And the way I look at it is that this move is meant to not only add more talent and competition to the cornerback room, but it's also to add insurance, because obviously the Lions said, hey, you know what? We still believe in Mosley, but it's like, dude, you go out and you draft 2 cornerbacks with your 2 top picks in the NFL. It's like, that tells me they don't necessarily trust him as much as they're saying, because it's like, dude, you don't draft 2 outside corners like Rakestraw and Arnold with freaking Mosley there. At that point, that tells me Mosley's probably done. Jarrett, that's my question. That's been my question for ever since I found out that Rakestraw was going to be the pick. That was my question, because I was like, okay, yeah, great. You've added more cornerback help. I'm not bad. I actually texted Derek and I was like, yo, man, how are you doing? I'm going to say this. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about the pick. What I'm trying to understand is the reasoning as to why. Because Brad Holmes deserves the ability to have that, you know, what's the word? He has the ability to have that discretion. He has earned that right to where it's like, okay, it might not make sense to us, but I'm going to trust him because everything else that he has done has proven to be correct. It has proven to be, you know, good. Now, I know for a lot of Lions fans that are looking at this, they're like, great, you already addressed the cornerback position last night. Why did you readdress it again and not address the edge rushing position? So for me, the way I look at it is this. Brad Holmes can still make moves to where he could go out and get that edge rusher. For me, I look at it like this. If Rakestraw can actually be what obviously Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell think he can be, which is a immediate impact kind of player, because, dude, if you're drafting a guy in the second round, you think he can be an immediate impact kind of a player. That's what you're thinking. So for me, it's like, okay, you go out and you draft Terrion Arnold. He's your first-round draft pick. You're obviously expecting him to be an impact player. Now you go out and you draft Rakestraw. That, to me, also says that you're thinking that he's going to be an impact player. My question is okay, you've obviously addressed the cornerback position. You've obviously addressed the defensive back position. But for me, when are you going to address the pass rush position? That's my question. So, no, I'm not getting necessarily emotional about this. I'm trying to explain it because it's kind of a, what's the word? It's kind of like a conflict, if you will. I can understand why Brad Holmes made the decision, but at the same time, I can also understand why this kind of just doesn't vibe very well for some people. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is Brad Holmes was making this pick based upon what the rest of the NFC division was doing. Because you have to think about it. The Bears have 3 big wide receivers. They've got Moore, they've got Allen, and they've got Odunze. So it's like, you take a look at all that, plus you've got Justin Jefferson in the division as well. You're playing these guys multiple times a year. You're going to have corners that can compete with that. So for me, I'm just like, okay, you know what? If that's what Brad Holmes is doing, then yeah, that's the way I look at it. And again, there's nothing that says Brad Holmes can't trade back in to the 3rd or the 4th round. I don't know. There's a multitude of ways that Brad Holmes could make this whole thing work. I personally don't know. So we'll see what happens. I definitely will say this. I am very, very curious to see what Brad Holmes says at the end of, the presser for tonight. Because I guarantee you those reporters are going to have questions that are very, very much going to be around the same line of thought. I guarantee you that's going to be the case. Well, that now officially is the end of the 2nd round. That now means that we are going to move into the 3rd round. Now, like I said, I don't know what Brad Holmes is going to do. I'm going to step off screen for a moment, fellas. Not just fellas, boys and girls. I got to step off because I got to move. I've been sitting in this chair now for almost going on 3 hours.
So who do we think I didn't hear.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. All right. I just had to get up and move around, folks. I've been sitting in that chair for going on almost 3 hours. No, I did not do that, Belinda. I just had to get up and move because, I'll be honest, I was starting to lose feeling in my legs. Oh, I'm sure he is. That's why I texted him. I literally texted Derek, and I texted him, I'm like, yo, man, are you good? Like, because I knew he was wanting defensive edge. I know he was wanting an edge rusher, and getting a cornerback was definitely not what he was wanting. Jets are selecting wide receiver Malachi Corey out of Western Kentucky. And the Cardinals pick is also in too. They are selecting running back Trey Benson out of Florida State. Okay, Brent, I'm going to explain this for quite another round because I'm probably going to say this again when I do my video for the night. I look at the Lions drafting Enos Rakestraw as kind of like a reaction to the rest of the division. Because the way I look at it is, okay, you already knew that the Bears had traded for Keenan Allen earlier before the draft even was a thought. But then at the same thing, the Bears go out and then they draft Rome Odunze. So it's like, okay, the Bears now have 3 big wide receivers that you have to contend with. You still have Justin Jefferson in the division too. So it's like, okay, you've got all these big wide receivers that you've got to contend with. And the Lions didn't really have anybody other than Carlton Davis. So, okay, first night they go out, they get Terry and Arnold, which I thought was an absolutely beautiful, wonderful, amazing pick. But I think what Brad Holmes was looking at is like, okay, who's the best player available based upon what our process is? That's number one, which I'll be the first to admit, I don't understand the process. I just know that for 95% of the time, I have agreed with the process. But for me, the way I look at it is Brad Holmes looked at, okay, what's the best value for the pick that we have right now, number one, but also number two, what is going to fulfill the best need that we have right now? So for me, I think that Holmes probably looked at it and said, hey, based upon what our type of player is, he fits what we're looking for. Now, I know for a lot of Lions fans, they would be like, dude, you know, Isaac, the edge rusher out of Penn State, was still on the board. Jonah Ellis was still on the board. You could have gotten Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, who was still on the board. There were a number of other players that the Lions could have gone with, and they didn't go that route, which tells me that the Lions were saying, hey, we are convicted about this guy, because if you decide to go with somebody else when there are other players that are supposedly better prospects on the board, that tells me the Lions were absolutely 100% convicted and committed to that dude being their pick. Now, whether or not the pick makes sense to us fans is kind of irrelevant, because I know last year there were a lot of fans that didn't understand the Jahmyr Gibbs pick. There were a lot of fans that didn't understand the Jack Campbell pick. The way I look at it is Brad Holmes has earned that right to have that cushion, that ability to be questioned, but yet still trust the process.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I trust Brad Holmes. I've already said that I trust him. It was like a shock to me.
No, and I get that. I understand that it's a shock. I get that very much. But the way I look at it is that Brad Holmes, this is how I'm also going to put it this way. I'm going to say this right now, and everybody that's watching this live stream ought to hear me for what I'm about to say. People that watched me when I was in DLF before it got taken down, and obviously now in MCM for Motor City Mania, you guys know that I was one of the harshest critics of Aaron Glenn. I'm going to tell you this right now. After all of the talent that the Lions have given freaking Aaron Glenn through the draft, if Aaron Glenn cannot get this defense to work this year, there are no excuses he can have left. Absolutely none. Because you have to think about it. Up until this point, Brad Holmes had 23 draft picks. Now he's got 25. And of those 25 draft picks, 15 of the 25 draft picks have gone to Aaron Glenn's defense. Then on top of that, Brad Holmes had 14 draft picks in the third round or higher going into this draft. Now you can say he's had 16. Of those 16, 11 have gone to Aaron Glenn's defense. The way I look at it is like, dude, if Aaron Glenn can't get this defense to work with all of this talent that Brad Holmes has given him, then I'm sorry, there is nothing that is going to get that defense to work. Absolutely nothing. No defensive coordinator gets that much defensive talent pumped onto their defense and still not make it work. I just look at it and it's just like, dude, this is Aaron Glenn's last chance. Because if you think about it, Brad Holmes has given that man damn near everything in comparison to what Ben Johnson has gotten, in comparison to what the offense has gotten. At this point, it's like, hey, you know what? You have got to make this crap work. And it definitely has to work because Aaron Glenn's a former cornerback. If he can't get Rakestraw and Arnold to perform the level we need them to perform, that's not going to fall on the cornerbacks coach as much as it's going to fall on Aaron Glenn because Aaron Glenn is a cornerback by trade. That's what he was. I just look at it like this, folks. Hey, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust Dan Campbell. I'm going to trust Brad Holmes. I'm going to trust that they know what they're doing because up until this point, they have proven that they know what they're doing. The way I look at it is that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have earned that much. They have earned that right. So I know people are looking at this and they can't understand it. They're upset about it. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to be like, listen, while I might not understand it, I'm going to stay neutral about it. I'm going to be like, listen, there is obviously a reason why Brad Holmes drafted him at pick 61 versus any other number of players that were available. It's not, again, it's one of those things, it's kind of like faith. It's not my job to know why. It's not my job to understand why. It's just to trust and have faith in the process. I know that for some people, that is a hard concept to envision. But all I can say is this. If Rakestraw and Arnold, along with Carlton Davis, they can give a shutdown cornerback room like a literal,
Annemiek Robinson.
Huh?
Annemiek Robinson.
I'm not counting on Robinson. I'm not at this point. Robertson, I think he's mostly going to be a slot nickel corner. I think that's what they're using him for.
So here's the question. Who gets cut?
That's what I don't know.
Because
that's the problem is that you've got so many cornerbacks now, you can't keep all of them.
Exactly. And it's like, that's why it was a shock to me. I'm like, wait a minute now. Who gets cut? Is it Vildor? Is it Mosley?
I think out of all the choices to get most likely the axe, it's probably going to be either Vildor or Gilmore. I don't see Robertson getting it because Robertson, they actually signed him from free agency. Vildor, he's already been here. They already know kind of what he's about, so they know if they cut him, they're not going to miss much. And Gilmore, they really haven't done anything with him, so it's, again, not like they'd miss much. And to answer your question, Robert, Terrion Arnold cannot play safety. He's never played safety, at least not in the college ranks or in the NFL level. I think he might have played it back when he was in high school, but I don't think that would be a good idea to try and have him switch over to safety so early in his NFL career. The way I look at it is just, hey, you know what? Trust the guys that got you here. Trust them. They've brought you here. You just got to go with it. I understand everybody was like, oh, edge rusher, edge rusher, edge rusher. Hey. Could he play safety, Motown Mitch? Yeah, he could, but it would be a really stupid move. You don't have a guy in the NFL play safety that hasn't played it since high school. That's just not a smart idea.
Well, the Giants just got their man, Andrew Phillips.
That was a cornerback that a lot of people talked about.
I don't think we have to worry about any more corners for the Lions.
I don't know about corners, but I'm not going to say anything about defensive backs. Because, again, the report was prior to tonight that the Lions were really interested in adding Sione Vaki.
Well, we would have to trade up in. Well, I keep saying trade up in the third. Trade into the third.
Well, again, the way I look at it is Brad could be doing one of two things. Brad could be setting up for something. What? I have no idea.
I wish I could get into Brad Holmes' brain. I just wish I could read his mind.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that for me, there are simple ways to look at it, and then there's complex ways to look at it. The simple way to look at it is Brad Holmes simply looked at it like, hey, the cornerback room is the weakest spot on our roster. It has to be fixed. It has to be upgraded. It has to be added with more talent. Hey,
well, we're definitely doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the simplest way to look at it. Brad Holmes felt that it was a need that had to get taken care of. He went out. He drafted two of the best corners that he felt were in the draft. He got Rakestraw. He got Arnold. Okay, that's the simple way to look at it. A complex way to look at it could be, okay, Brad Holmes is maybe setting up for something in the future. What? I don't know.
This is, how do I put this? I don't mind the Ennis Rakestraw pick. I don't mind it one bit. When I think about it, I'm like, okay, I don't want to use the word death as the word that he provides, but he does add that, of course. But in my opinion, it tells me, hey, if these corners are not on their P's and Q's, we got two corners that can take their place.
Well, there's that part too. But again, the way I go back to the simplest, I go back to the one phrase everyone talks about, Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is almost always the right one. The way I look at it is, hey, the Lions had a terrible pass defense last year. They had a terrible pass defense the year before that and the year before that. The Lions had, for the last 3 years, tried to find a way to stopgap, patchwork that unit by bringing in people. And obviously, Brad Holmes has gotten tired of doing that because up until last year, he hadn't even drafted a defensive back of really any noteworthiness. Oh, sure, he drafted Chase Lucas, but Chase Lucas was a 7th-round draft pick. He wasn't anybody that was going to make any severe impact for us. And then on top of that, he got safeties like, Kirby Joseph and Ife Melifonwu. But again, those were not guys that were considered to be top-end corners. Those were guys that were either considered prudential projects or, they're going to play safety.
So the Cardinals pick is in. The Cardinals are taking Isaiah Adams.
Well, let's see here. I just look at it the simplest way possible. Brad Holmes is going to try and build this team the best way he can, which is trying to find ways to make weaknesses into strengths. It was quite plainly obvious that to him, he thought the cornerback room was the biggest weakness, so he went all in to fix it. That's the best way I can look at it.
Did you hear who I said the
Yeah, Isaiah Adams for the Cardinals.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see if Brad Holmes pulls another rabbit out of his head and trades up into the third. So far, I haven't seen any. That doesn't mean that it won't happen.
Anyway. I don't know. Like I said, there's only one of two ways, really, you can look at this pick of Rakestraw. You can either look at it and be completely, angry, betrayed, peeved off, or you can look at it as Brad Holmes is playing, again, chess when everybody else is playing checkers.
And as Rakestraw said that he was even shocked that the Lions picked him. He was like, he doesn't have a problem with it, but he was like, it's a shock because of what they did last night.
Well, like I said, I'm just looking at the situation for what it is. You know what? The way I look at it is a very, very simple one. Brad Holmes is going to do what Brad Holmes does. It's that simple. You can't say let Brad Holmes cook and then get pissed off at the dish he serves you. That just don't work. If you tell the cook, hey, I don't care what you serve, just serve up something good, let him cook, and then he pulls out something and you don't like it, then at that point you kind of got nobody but yourself to blame. The way I look at it is a very simple one. How do I put this? I took a look at this class as far as the overall 2024 class before the start of the draft. And what I noticed was this. The positions that had a lot of depth, quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, cornerback, those were your top group positions that had the most depth in them. The positions that didn't, running back, edge rusher, linebacker. This was a draft class that for the Lions was good in one sense, but was also not good in one sense. It was good because, okay, we need cornerback help bad. But if you're looking for a top-end edge rusher, you're not really going to find one. Because you have to think about it. Take a look at the top three edge rushers from this class. If you'd have put them in the class with Aiden Hutchinson and all the rest of them, maybe one, maybe two might have made it into the first round, but they wouldn't have made it until the bottom of the first round. Mm-hmm. The way I'm looking at it is very simple. Brad Holmes must have just thought the edge rushers that were available were just not that good. So for me, I'm just like, hey, you know what? If Brad Holmes thought that the best player available for what the team needed, what the team was looking for was Enos Rakestraw, then that makes sense to me. It might be distasteful to some, but hey, it makes sense.
Sorry, I'm back. I was muted. Hey, David. When you told me what the Lions' pick was, did I seem pissed off to you, or was I shocked?
If I had to take a guess, I wouldn't say you were pissed. I would say you were more shocked or surprised.
Yeah, and I asked I asked a lot of Dan Davis is not happy with the pick. He's like, I don't like this pick at all.
Well, again, the way I look at it is a very, very simple one. You have to look at it from Brad Holmes' perspective. Brad Holmes has told us since day freaking one that he was going to do what he felt was best for this team. And when it came to the draft, he has always said it time and time and time again. Best player available, BPA. Well, here's the thing. Up until this particular pick, this one, most people have looked at it and have not really had a whole lot of questions about it because they're like, hey, you know what? We could understand why this player was picked or this particular position was picked. But now people are having an issue with it because it's like, okay, we already drafted one cornerback, but then the very next time we're up to bat at the draft, we draft another cornerback. So it's like, well, why did we do that? Well, obviously Holmes must have felt that that was the best player available at that spot for what the team was in need of fixing. So is it a bit of a head scratcher? Is it a bit of a, well, I don't know why? Yeah, you could say that's part of the reasoning why there. But again, you have to take a look at it from the perspective of Brad Holmes. He is trying to build this team to not only compete, but to contend, to win. They want to win a Super Bowl. Well, if you think about it, in every single playoff game that we played, the quarterbacks torched us. Stafford torched us. Baker Mayfield torched us. Brock Purdy torched us. So for me, it's like, okay, obviously you need to upgrade your pass defense. You went out, you traded a third-round draft pick to get Carlton Davis. You went out, you then signed Amik Robertson. You then traded another third-round draft pick to move up and get Terrion Arnold. You then took your second-round draft pick that you had and drafted another cornerback. So the way I'm looking at it is Brad Holmes looked at it and said, listen, the reason why we couldn't win last year is because our pass defense was downright booty cheeks.
Do you agree with that assessment?
Who are you asking?
You.
Andrew, why would I disagree with my own statement?
Oh. No, never mind. I'm tired. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I was just like, well, wait a minute. I'm the one that's speaking, and it's not like I'm reading something or speaking from somebody else's perspective.
I thought you were thinking about like what Brad Holmes could be thinking.
Well, that's what I think he's thinking, but that's also my thought process.
Okay, that's what I was meaning. I was like, are you trying to get in Brad Holmes' head, or?
No, I'm not trying to get into Brad Holmes' head because, number one, I couldn't even if I wanted to. The way I look at it is that Brad Holmes is, again, he's taking a look at where the roster is right now. Plus, he's also trying to take a look at where the roster is going to be. You have to think about it. There's still the Jared Goff deal. There's still the Hutchinson deal. There's still all these deals that need to be taken care of. So that's obviously something that Holmes has to consider, even though that has nothing to do with the draft. Into that, so that's something that has to factor in. But then you have to take a look at the situation for what the cornerback room is right now. The only cornerback that Brad Holmes had up until Cameron Sutton was released that had a multi-year deal with the Lions was Sutton. Every other cornerback that we had was a one-year deal. Mosley, one-year deal. Vildor, one-year deal. Gilmore, one-year deal. Every other cornerback we had was a one-year deal. So I'm pretty confident what Brad Holmes was looking for is like, okay, I'm tired of doing the one-year deal bullcrap. I want to get something that is much more stable, much more long-term set. Now, I fully expect that having, Rakestraw and Arnold back there, that's going to give the Lions that security. But then you have to ask yourself, what do you do about Carlton Davis? You didn't just trade a third-round draft pick just to rent him for 1 year. I don't think that's the case at all. I think the Lions are going to try to keep him around. The question is whether or not they can do so at a reasonable price. So the way I'm looking at it is that Brad Holmes is thinking that, hey, I'm trying not only to set up this position group for right now, but I'm also trying to set up the position group for going further into the future. Because the one thing we know about cornerbacks is that cornerbacks, just like quarterbacks, they have a supremely high fail rate in the NFL. Cornerback is one of the hardest positions to transition from the NCAA to the NFL. So what I look at what Brad Holmes is doing is he's doubling the odds that he will have a chance to find one that will work.
What also what I think he is, he's obviously very selective about which cornerbacks he likes. He's already made that statement pretty public. So he obviously trusts Emershaw or Rickershaw, yeah.
It's just say Rakestraw. Enos Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold.
Yeah. He obviously
Cowboys just selected Cooper Beebe.
Damn it. Okay.
Just figured I'd put that out there. He's a pretty big player.
Yeah, of course. But obviously Brad Holmes is like, okay, I can get one of the best another great cornerback in his mind at a position that needs addressing. And he obviously loves Rickershaw enough to pick him where he picked him. I don't know. My mind is just going everywhere. Sorry about this, Chad, if I'm going all over the place. I'm not trying to.
Well, according to this, Brad Holmes has got his press conference going on right now, which if Brad Holmes has got his press conference going on.
Does he really? Let me see.
Yeah, his press conference is going on right now, which tells me if he's got his press conference going on, then he's done.
Yeah.
Because the only reason that a GM would step out of the draft room is if he's done for the night, which tells me Brad Holmes is done. He's not planning on drafting again.
Which kind of sucks. So, do we want to stay live, David?
Well, I want to hear this and just see what he says.
I guess we're done for today.
No, we're not done yet. I'm just reading and listening.
Browns. We really didn't.
Dean, where do you mean, where am I watching the press conference? I'm watching it on YouTube right now. That's an interesting term. Brad Holmes calls the cornerback room a bloodbath now for competition. Detroit Lions YouTube channel, Dean.
I was muted again. Sorry. I don't know why I keep getting muted. Oh well. Can you hear me, David?
Yeah.
Okay, I was muted for a second. Was my TV too loud?
Right now, I'm just watching.
Okay. Unless, yeah, I think we're done for the day. Do you think we get a fourth rounder tomorrow?
Who knows? It's possible. Dale, yes, there's a second wave of free agency that happens after the draft. I actually think I am going to end this stream because it doesn't really make much sense to keep doing this because we know the Lions aren't going to draft again because when the GM does a press conference, that pretty much spells the end of the night. So I'm going to end the draft. I'm going to end this stream coverage here because I also need to make the video for this draft pick.
Okay.
So I thank everybody for watching the stream. You guys have been awesome. I am going to let y'all know I am not doing the stream tomorrow because that's like 7-8 hours of draft coverage. I can't do it. I don't have that in me. After 3 hours, I can barely feel my legs, let alone try and do it for double, if not triple that. So
Or your neck.
yeah. So I thank y'all for watching the draft with me. Thank y'all for your comments and all the wonderful interaction that we've had. But I will obviously make video content about the draft. You can be rest assured about that, but I just won't be live streaming. But until then, see y'all later.